Hey yo, what's decent? Yo, everybody's hitting up Yu, so you know I gotta touch base with it. My opposition's gonna lead up with Blastoise, I'm gonna lead up with Weezing. I gotta get the hell out of there. This could be a Mega Blastoise for all I know. So I'm gonna go out to my loader just to scout to see if it is, and it turns out that it is. So I'm glad that I did that. I do have the Miracle Cup, and even if it goes for the Toxic, that's okay, because I want to have my Marvel skill activated. It's funny, on PS and on PO, I have my Melodic, which has the intended ability to have the Marvel skill. I've been playing as if I had the Marvel skill, but I have competitive. So now I corrected that mistake that I have on PS and PO on Wi-Fi and made this one a Marvel scale one. So he's gonna switch out into Blissey. I gotta get this thing out of the way. Thankfully, he actually has Thunder Wave over Toxic. That means that his Blissey won't be able to outstar me because I do have the recover as long as I don't get fully paralyzed consecutively. So now I'm going to switch out to my Absol because I figured that he's going to go for the attacking move. And since this is implied that it's a Mega Absol, which is kind of obvious that it would be, I'm going to go for the Pursuit, predicting him to switch out, but he does not do that. He instead predicts me to have Superpower and then goes for the Softball so he can recover the damage that Superpower would potentially inflict onto him. So now I'm going to switch out into Donphan because I don't want any unnecessary damage inflicted onto my Absol, because I know that now since I didn't go for the Superpower, it's just more incentive for him to go for the Seismic Toss. So now I'll go for the Donphan, insinuating I'm going to go for the attacking move, which I don't. I go for the Stuff Rock, and he switches out into Pidgeot. Now I'm thinking that this is a specialty based Pidgeot, so I'm going to switch right out into my Rotom, because if he goes for the Hurricane, Hurricane won't inflict any damage onto me. If he goes for the U-turn like he just did, U-turn itself won't inflict damage to me. I mean, it's a Rotom versus a Pidgeot. What else are you going to really do? So now in comes Blissey again. And now I'm just going to go for the Will-O-Wisp for residual damage. I know he can switch out. He probably has Heal Bell as well. The good thing about Blissey is that it has a lot of hit points, so both my Weezing and my Rotom could take full head advantage of that. And because Blissey doesn't have Toxic, instead of having the Toxic, it has Thunder Wave, it can't inflict any status onto my Rotom. So I'm free to Will-O-Wisp and go for the Vault Switch and stuff like that. So now in comes the Raikou, and I guess he's trying to bait me to go for a Overheat, but I'm gonna go for the Vault Switch because I don't want my Rotom in here, just in case he happens to, I've seen this before, not be leftovers but be sub CM. I swear I've seen that before. And the leftovers, the lack of leftovers was meant to throw me off that it would be a sub CM set on the Raikou that I faced before. So I want to Vault Switch out of there, so I did that. I'm gonna go straight into Absol just because I pursued it before. I'm gonna change up moves and go for the Sucker Punch and knock out his Mega Blastoise. In comes Raikou, and I think he's underestimating the power of Mega Absol. Right now, I can knock him out with the Sucker Punch, and he stays in, goes for an attacking move, and I do just that. Knock out the Raikou and the Mega Blastoise. Two major threats out of the way, right out of the way. So now I have a support move on my Absol, which is very common on Mega Absols. I do have Will-O-Wisp on it. I'm going to go straight for that, and he's going to go for the Flamethrower. I think Absol can also get Pain Split. I might contemplate using Pain Split. I might not. I don't even really see the point on using Pain Split on an Absol, really. I can use that for more tanky Pokemon, like such as Rotom and Weezing. I think I'm going to keep my regular set. So now in comes my Lodic, and Weezing can't do anything to my Lodic. So he's going to bring back in his Nurture. I'm going to predict that and go for the Dragon Tail. And then in comes in his Pidgeot. So that's great. I can go for the Scald right here and get some residual damage onto this. And I guess the next switching would be Decisive because he will get inflicted with the Self Frost. But that's not the case because he goes to the default, and afterwards I get fully paralyzed. So now I'm going to predict him to switch out into something, not necessarily Blissey like he just does this turn, but I'm going to predict him to switch out and go for the Dragon Tail, and I'm going to phase him out into his Weezing. So now instead of going for a plethora of Dragon Tails, I'm going to switch it up right now and go for a Skull. Just inflict some more damage onto it. I know that he has a Pain Split, and I think it's optimal for him to want to stay in and get more damage inflicted onto him. Since he is faster than me, since I'm fully paralyzed, he can now use that time, assuming that I'll get another Scald on it like I just do, to stay in and go for a Pain Split to dwindle down my Lodic's HP. But I'm going to see right past that, and I'm going to go out into my Absol, my Mega Absol, which has a little bit of HP left over. And then, assuming that he goes for the Plane Split, that is a dead Weezing, because now I can just straight up go for the Pursuit. regardless of whether he switches or not, that is a dead Weezing. So I don't have to worry about Weezing trying to come in later on and go for the plane split or my Melodic, in case that I will have to have my Melodic in play and he decides to go out into Weezing again. So now in comes his Menshao. I'm going to switch out into a Weezing of my own. Gonna go for the fake out. And I'm thinking about, should I go for the Will-O-Wisp? I think I should. Will-O-Wisp is a little too obvious. Well, actually, yeah, I'm gonna go for the Will-O-Wisp because the best he can switch in is his Blissey, and I would want residual damage on that thing. Even though he has a Thunder Wave, that's still fine, you know. So I'm gonna go for the Will-O-Wisp. I'm gonna miss that big target right there. It's like a huge target in the shooting range, and you just miss it not once but twice. So he's gonna go for the Seismic Toss, assuming that I'm gonna switch out to my Donphan. And since I stayed in, I'm not gonna want to stay in a third turn and go for a third Will-O-Wisp, because I think that he's gonna go for the Thunder Wave that turn. But instead, he decides to go for a third Seismic Toss, which is alright. So now I'm going to play a little bit of Mind Games, because if I get it Rocks again, and if Pidgeot comes in again on the Ice Shard, I could knock it out, 2-hit KO it. But he's going to Soft Boil, as he's faster than me, and I'm just going to go for a Self Rock right now. And then afterwards, I'm just going to go for the Earthquake to inflict some damage onto the Blissey. But I want to put it in a range. I want to give him the idea that I'm just going to stay in an Earthquake a lot. So I'm going to Earthquake. It's going to do a little bit over half. He might Soft Boil this turn. He might not. It's like 50-50 right now. So I'm just going to go for Ice Shard, assuming that his Pidgeot was going to come into play. That's not the case. He goes to use the Soft Boil and recovers a whole bunch of HP. I'm thinking like, okay, maybe now he's going to switch out, but maybe not. Okay, I'm just going to go for the Earthquake. This is my gut feeling that he's going to stay in, and he ends up staying in that turn. So I'm going to go for the Earthquake and inflict some damage onto the Blissey. I'm thinking that he's going to want to recover right now. So I'm going to go for the Earthquake, and then afterwards, on the next turn, go for the Ice Shard. But instead, he switches out right now into his Pidgeot. So I'm thinking like, okay, I've seen the U-turn. Maybe he's physical? I've never seen a physical Pidgeot. But then again, I remember that my own specially based Pidgeot also had U-turn. So he's going to go for the Brave Bird, which he turns out to be a physical set. And at the same time, it was revealed after the battle that he was Choice Banded, because I thought that Donphan couldn't live that. Hence why I stayed in with it. So I could have just like went out into Jirachi, resisted the Brave Bird, and afterwards locked myself into a Choice Scarf, Zen Headbutt, which isn't right now, which is what I do. So now Menshao comes into play, and it gets 1-hit KO'd by the Zen Headbutt. And then afterwards, the Blissey's going to come into play. He's going to flinch to my first Zen Headbutt, and then get knocked out by my secondary Zen Headbutt, and that would be the game. So I definitely did have a lot of fun. Peace! What you doing?